All right, we're live. Hey, everyone. It's the one and only Monetary Monkey of Mayhem coming to you live in another edition of Rogue Coin. And I have with us the men of the hour, the dynamic team, the one and only. Let me cue this up. Let me cue this up for these guys. And I'll tell you right now, if you could find these guys, you know how to find them. And if you got trouble, maybe you could hire these guys. Crypto Cowboy, Crypto Z, and Simply Frank. Find them.
We're ready. We're ready with our AKs with the Woodstocks, the long banana clips.
Yeah, the stainless looking barrels.
The stainless magazines and everything.
You gotta love that show. That show was great. Everybody shot from the hip. Awesome. 1,000,001 rounds. Nobody got hit. Nobody got hurt.
Oh, but they would shoot the tire out on like a Jeep, and then the Jeep would do this amazing like 360 in the air, you know?
Flip. Amazing.
Tumbles. And then all the time, being Baracus, they always had to poison Mr. T before they put him on an airplane.
You don't put him on a plane, Murdoch.
You give me a new plane, Murdoch. Hey, what? Y'all feed me the hamburger. Oh, is it the milk? Did you put it in the milk or the hamburger? And then like he's just the hamburger, and he goes, we put it in both.
Yeah. That's great. Well, folks, it's the boys back again. The cryptoschool.io. We got Crypto Cowboy, Crypto Z, and Simply Frank. These guys are going to break down everything that's been going on in the cryptoverse. Check out their work, and if you haven't done so already, join Real Profits, Real Results, real technical analysis. No heebie-jeebies, no woo-woo, none of that stuff. Just good hardcore stuff. Check them out. They're cryptoschool.io. Click on the Watch Us Trade room, and you can watch these guys trade. If not, if you are a newbie to cryptocurrency, you can just join for $297 lifetime membership over at the Crypto School. Their video education series, they're constantly adding to it. You can check that out, thecryptoschool.io. And with that being said, gentlemen, what's going on? How are you?
What up? What up?
What up? How we doing?
Hey, we're excited. The cryptos are feeling pretty good this week. At least for my part, it feels pretty good.
Yep. Oh, yeah, you are right. The cryptos do feel really good. Things are going really well, guys. Things are going really well. And if anybody's any questions in regards to the trading room, guys, or Watch Us Trade Room, you guys can just ask inside the YouTube live chat. Those guys are in there talking right now.
Yeah, everybody, and remember, we have we won't do a big commercial now, but we have 3 different products at the cryptoschool.io, so make sure you check out each one and click on the right one so that you get where you're looking to go. It's pretty obvious by what they're titled, but just take a second and you'll be able to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. So I think market cap is like what, under 280, like less than a week ago or 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
So the total market cap for cryptos was it's gone up by about 40%. That's just head math. It's probably bigger than that, but we're at 338 billion right now. We were at 280 billion not 2 weeks ago. So what we're seeing is the expansion of the entire market cap. So the money comes into Bitcoin because that's what everybody hears about. And then once Bitcoin stabilizes, people want to continue to make money. So they begin to speculate on the altcoins. And what we're, I think, in the middle of right now is that we have sort of stabilized. And can we see my screen? Is my screen up, guys?
I see it. Your screen's up.
Okay, I'm going to go full screen. So since back up a little bit, we kind of stabilized a little bit from our big drop. We kind of hung out around the high 6s, and now we've come up to like the 8 level. So we're sort of floating around 7,500, 8,000. 8,200, things like that. And once you get up to a certain level, that's when the money begins to kind of like go into the alts. I think that's what's happening right now.
Cool.
So Z and I are in there scoping it out. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. What is really interesting this time around, guys, is that we talked about this a few weeks, and we've been actually talking about Bitcoin's dominance being upwards of like 40, and right now it's at 40.8. So what is really interesting is that this time around, at least from what I see, is that there's actual money coming into the market, not even for Bitcoin. It's actually coming into the market specifically for alts, because Bitcoin's dominance has not risen up.
Wow.
But its price has still relatively stayed the same, and the entire market cap is coming up, which is very unusual. You don't really get to see this very often. A lot of times the market cap goes up, Bitcoin's dominance was rising, which what we were looking at, it was like 41, 42, 43, and every single week it kept going up. But now it's actually going down, but the market cap is actually rising. So very exciting stuff.
Yeah, the implication there is that, and it makes a lot of sense, because in the past, your cryptos were very much more so speculation, and I think they're still heavy speculation. You know, a lot of these cryptos simply don't have a product out yet. They're a concept. They're showing progress. So as time goes on and the projects become more tangible, they become more real, then that's when you can expect a sort of the beginnings of a decoupling from the altcoins to Bitcoin. And so what that means is that, you know, historically Bitcoin goes up, alts go up, Bitcoin goes down, alts go down. And I think that's going to continue, but it's going to slow down to the point where eventually, you know, it's going to have less effect on the alts. You're going to see more and more alts run even in a bear market. But I think for now, with the dominance where it is, we got a long way before we really truly see some decoupling. I think if Bitcoin went down today, like everything goes down, and maybe there's a recovery period for a few years, and I don't know, who knows? No one knows. But what I do know is that this chart actually is unchanged from yesterday, my update. So I wanted to show you guys. Now, you know, nobody's perfect in TA. Nobody makes calls every time, but
however, let me show you something awesome.
So I mean, it's cool when this happens. Yeah. So what you're looking at is, I drew this yesterday. Okay. I saw that this red Kijun Sen and the blue Tenkan Sen line kind of joined up right here. And when we talk about the Ichimoku indicator, for those of us new to the show, that's comprised of this green cloud, this red cloud, and these lines. A lot of this noise is Ichimoku. If I take it away, it looks like that. Okay. So I saw that happening here. Okay. Now, one of the things that I get concerned about is this flip right here. But in the meantime, we didn't see that yesterday. Okay. What we did see was, I'm like, okay, they converged. We might see a bull cross, and that means we might actually see the blue line go above the red line, and that's exactly what we saw. Okay. So if I take this away and we look right here where my mouse is, that's where the actual blue came above the red. It's a bit hard to see. I don't want to zoom in too far because I want to keep the effect of the entire chart. But the blue line did have a bull cross, and it had a bull cross inside of the bullish green cloud. So that's a moderate bullish signal. Now, right when that happened, what my prediction was, as these arrows kind of show us the most likely path I think is going to take, most likely path or two, I use a solid arrow like this. And then I have your potentials that come from there. And my less likely is a dotted line. And it pretty much followed my arrow. Beautiful. But what's interesting is that we had what I think a lot of this is manipulation. This does not look organic. These rises and falls that are lovingly called the Bart Simpson head. So I saw some things, and I don't want to share too much because, you know, people pay for that kind of entertainment, but I saw some things that we use to identify the manipulation. 3 different indicators that are not exactly very known about. And we had this happen. So people probably saw this rise and thought, oh, we're going to go up. So maybe a lot of people went long. It might be that they pushed it down right here to get everybody's stop losses to trigger. And then they took it right back up. You know, so I am convinced
they stop loss hunted yesterday.
Yeah, so that's Z's talking about stop hunting. So essentially, if they know that people set their stop losses somewhere in this area, so if they drop the price, people stops kick in, and then they can buy in cheap and then go right back up to where they were.
So once they hit everybody's stops, it begins to sell off, and then it pushes price
correct.
down.
It pushes the price down, and then it creates a reversal, and that's essentially what a lot of people do in margin trading. They do that, and because they can with the leverage, they can push it down, and then afterwards they can rebound it back up. And yesterday, actually, a lot of the margin trading bots were announcing that heavy buys were coming in on the longs.
Yeah, so that's and that I didn't even use that indicator. I didn't know about that. I just used everything else on the screen here. So I had it going to an 8100 to 8200 resistance zone. Literally is like right there, hanging out. So it could go
there
down,
it is.
You know, yesterday things looked like they were going to go down because this was going to be a bear flag, but I saw some things here that make it look like it's going to go up. Cool. So now today I get to watch up here to see, okay, is it going to follow this potential bearish kind of situation? You know, the MAC is still relatively bullish. I actually had it here yesterday. This is all yesterday's stuff. I have possible bounce off bottom. Well, there it is. Bounce right off the bottom. And then the stochastic RSI turning bullish from here. And sure enough, it went bullish.
Very nice.
So it looks like I called it all right. So I'm going to be looking today to update. And that's hey, Bitcoin as I have it.
Let me ask you guys with relation to Bitcoin and market cap in general. I was noticing, if I recall correctly, 8,000 was about where we were before the market went bananas, right? Back in, what was it, December or November? And I was also noticing market cap is where it was right at where it is now, is just about the area it was the beginning of December. Like December 2nd, it was at 330. December 6th, it went all the way to 375, and then it just went nuts, right? So, and again, I'm not sure where Bitcoin was in the beginning of December, but
let me back up.
It feels a little like what I was going to ask is, it feels a little bit like we've reset the table, and
in terms of alt season coming back up,
just in terms of the whole market being a little more healthy in terms of growth.
I mean, the entire market
craziness of that period.
Well, what Frank's talking about, I mean, yeah. So you're on the way up. We bounced off of this zone that we're currently in. Excuse me, in the 7s and 8s. We bounced right off 8100, 8200, like right here.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then it went crazy.
And then it came back down, and then it went crazy. And then once we passed this current resistance that we are in, it did go up this slope.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, and on the long. And I know, Z, I don't mean to, I know you had something to say about that too, but on the long, it does look like we're forming a symmetrical triangle. But again, with Bitcoin, they could want to do something else with it. So I'm not.
And when we interviewed Cliff, didn't he say it was around this time that he thought the emotional strength of the market was going to start coming back, or was it the end of May? I can't remember what he said. I thought he was saying it was going into May.
It was May. He stated, but he said like just April is going to be a rough month in general for all economic all economic things. But right now, Bitcoin, in terms of the long, Bitcoin is still bearish. I mean, there are still talks about Bitcoin still going back down to 6,000,
right?
Because it still has not played out yet.
So no party hats yet.
no party hats yet, you know, as much as we want it to be party hats, but you know, as we're proving, you know, there is ways to make money even in this bear market.
Yeah. And what a great resource you guys have been in the bear market. My goodness, is we've said many times, we've only had our room open in a bear market, and it has for what was left of my portfolio, you guys helped protect, and it's now on the move back up, which is great.
Actually, here's something to see here on the chart. When did we actually open this room? Do we have a date?
Oh, I don't know.
Do we have a rough date?
I want to say end of February. No. Yeah. Wait, hold on.
It was like March, man.
It was, I think it was
month.
I think it was around like the first week of March.
Okay, so this is the first week of March right here.
Yeah.
And this is where we've been making money. I just want to point that out. And that's it. I don't want to talk more about it. I want to talk more about it. If that's all we have to say.
Now, what is a little bit interesting right now about Cowboy's chart right now that I'm seeing is that if BTC does another dip down, and then it rebounds off of that trend line at the bottom trend line right there, what that's going to do right there is that it's going to be like the lows are becoming higher in a sense off of if it falls this wedge, and what that's going to do is that blue line, that crossover is going to be tighter and tighter and tighter, and we could actually see a point of entry right there on the daily.
Yeah, see what he's talking about is this line right here where my mouse is.
So it's tightening up right now. It's gone a little bit closer. You can see the SAR lines, those blue little dots tightening up, and as it bounces off in a smaller like trajectory, you could see that entry come in, which would show a point of entry.
Hey, can I ask a quick favor, Cowboy? Can you go to a Litecoin USD? And I have a reason for this. I just want to illustrate something.
There's no reason for that. Just kidding.
Litecoin USD.
Let's see here.
So you were saying about March, because I just pulled it up for myself, just to illustrate how these guys have performed over the last month. I promise we won't start doing commercial, but just I'm just proud of you guys and what you guys are doing in our room. Yeah, go to Litecoin USD now the daily, and find March, the beginning of March, which is, like we said, where our room opened. Now I'm a pretty busy guy, as a lot of people know. You go to the daily. So I'm not nearly one of the most active people in our room. I check in a couple times a day. I adjust my stop losses. I see what you guys are up to. I'm not sitting in there trading all day. If my portfolio was mostly, well, not mostly, but very heavily weighted in Litecoin in March. So you see the beginning of March. My portfolio today is, I would say, 20 to 30% higher than it was the beginning of March. And look at that freaking chart. And I'm talking higher in USD value. And all I did, most of the most significant ones I did were defensive trades where I was protecting my portfolio value. And that was based on information that I was getting from the educational room that we have, that is Watch Us Trade. So my portfolio increased. I'd say I'm bad at math, at percentages off the top of my head, but I would say 20%, maybe more, in USD value, even though I started out having a portfolio that was heavy in Litecoin. And look at that. Look at how far Litecoin has gone down since March. It's amazing.
You can take a look at Litecoin USD from a technical standpoint. I know there was another room that called this a flag. I would go more towards a falling wedge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same room that uses chicken bones and stuff. So I guess I can grant them a little bit.
We won't get into it.
But I mean, they don't know what they're doing anyway. So why should they know how to say things? So we got this going on, more or less, right? Kind of falling wedge. And then it came out of that wedge, and it looks like it's in another wedge, or something of the sort.
It's actually at a very critical point right now.
Yeah, it's because you got you have your support right here with Litecoin. So I mean, we kind of don't cover Litecoin a lot, Z and I, just because it's down to this support before its major run last year. It's down all the way to here, which is the same as Bitcoin on the Bitcoin chart. When we looked at the Bitcoin USD, we had it at 8,000 now. And we had 8,000 before the big run up. Same kind of situation. So unless Litecoin comes out with something that is monumental enough to separate it from what do you call it? To separate it from the other cryptos, and it's almost like whatever Bitcoin's doing, Litecoin is probably going to do, and I might look at it once a week.
Yeah.
Correct. So what I see right there for Litecoin, guys, is that one of the things that actually doesn't look good to me is that red cloud, the Kedron cloud, Kumo cloud is widening up in a red bear section. That does not play well. Two, Litecoin has two critical resistances to break out. It has the bottom of that cloud, in which it's already thickening up right now, as well as it has the general resistance to go through. So there are essentially
that out so people can see that.
Oh yeah. Thanks.
So I'm gonna full screen it. Hold on.
Cool. But yeah, so you can sort of see that play once Cowboy highlights that what I'm talking about, and it could fall. I could see it falling back down. It opens up the possibility for a cup and handle to be played out, but I don't know. I don't see Litecoin doing that. In terms of FA wise, guys, fundamental analysis wise on Litecoin doesn't have anything going for it right now. That's the bad part about it. And you guys see this a lot of times with a lot of older coins. If you look at coin market cap right now, you look at the top 20 coins, how many of those coins are old coins now? A lot of the old coins have been pushed out. It's kind of sad, but a lot of the coins have been pushed out. I mean, now Lisk is number 22. All these older coins are now falling out. Sia coin is number 32 now. Stratus is 37. These are coins that used to be top 5, top 10.
Sia coin going to $100 each end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Like these coins used, like Golem being like 52. Like these coins used to be high position coins back in the day. When I first got into cryptocurrencies, Goldman was number 7, number 6 on the market, and now it's number 52.
Yeah.
So what that shows is that, like, you know, the coins that don't have strong FA anymore, the coins that aren't coming up with the times, you know, developing with the technology, are going to fall out. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, to also look at it, and Z, I know you're seeing the same thing as I am. There's a lot to see right here. You have a couple of bounces off this support, and you know, this could be the battering ram. I mean, here's the deal about Bitcoin. If it follows, I'm sorry, Litecoin. If Litecoin follows Bitcoin, right? But Bitcoin still has a chance at like kind of being the top crypto, and Litecoin is kind of getting beat out, then why have Litecoin at all? You know, unless you have some new FA. If Litecoin makes something happen, it's a whole nother story. But until then, I just don't see any reason to hold it. I'll just hold.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was it.
I was going to ask you guys about that. You know, again, just going with my gut. And by the way, I love you guys bring these up, and you know, it's like I'm not an expert in this stuff. I'm an expert in a few other things, but everybody who's an expert in something, they know that little thing where like it doesn't look like anything to anybody else, but the trained eye sees it and goes bop, 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 bop. And that's what I love with you guys. It's like there's this big mess on the screen, and you're like, you see what I'm seeing, Z? It's like let's see. Yeah. I see a lot of things. I don't know what I'm looking at. So I love how you guys just see stuff like that. But what I was going to bring up, with Bitcoin versus Litecoin, my gut is it seems like the you know, Bitcoin went through a really rough patch where you couldn't use it for anything, you couldn't send it, nobody wanted to buy it because it was going to cost you $30 to send it to your own wallet. It seems to have improved considerably since then. The excitement over Bitcoin Cash, the excitement over Litecoin seems to have dropped with Bitcoin coming back up. I don't know if that's just in my own little heart or if that's a real thing being felt by the market. What's your take on that?
I don't. So like I have time to think about Litecoin for like 30 seconds a day. You know, I don't think that deep. I really keep it simple. I think what you're saying is probably the case, but it's kind of like, okay, the FA is not looking so strong on these other coins. So
very
we don't
simple,
have that support, right? So once we understand that the FA is not strong, once we understand that these coins aren't following Bitcoin, I kind of stopped thinking about it. And I just say to myself, okay, well, if I own Bitcoin right now, it's the same as owning Litecoin as far as my book is concerned.
Gotcha.
So now that I understand that, that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to move on to other strategies.
And I'm kind of asking more from the perspective of looking at Bitcoin than Litecoin. I know that's a shocker coming from me, but I guess what I'm asking is, has the FA on Bitcoin come back to people feeling like this is the big dog? This is going to be the big dog for a very long time.
I don't think it ever left. I think it's always been like that.
I don't, even when it was hard to send.
Yeah. So the FA around Bitcoin being the monetary place, you know, the place to store wealth essentially is always there. Now the issue is who is going to be the silver to Bitcoin's gold. That's the big issue. And
the thing you buy your coffee.
So right now, everybody's fighting for second place.
Exactly. Everybody's fighting for second place. No one's fighting for first place. No one's going to take over Bitcoin. It's just simple as that.
So who are you seeing slugging it out? And when you're talking about silver to Bitcoin's gold, what goes off in my mind is you're talking about the thing that you're going to use to buy stuff every day.
Transactional, everyday transactionals. Yeah, everyday transactions is what people are talking about. The everyday payment method, and which is why the payment platform or payment card situation with cryptos is so saturated right now. You know, you had 10x come in, now you have, you know, Centra, you have all these other tokens that came in and are trying to do that because they're trying to be, you know, the go-to thing for everyday transactions. Now, Litecoin unfortunately has been failing in that category. It has not been very user-friendly, and it has not been playing out as much as it should be. By now, because Litecoin has first-person's movement, like first-person's, I guess, first company move.
First mover advantage.
First mover's advantage. Thank you. They, you know, they're not working. Simple as that, guys. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, as much as I know a lot of people like Litecoin, I know I'm going to get under fire for this, but Litecoin is not moving.
Well, you know, not everybody is lauded for telling what we think is true, but the other way to look at it is, and what people seem to leave out of this equation as far as duking it out for second, and see, what do you have to do to get second place? You have to have, you know, faster, cheaper transactions on a very secure blockchain. Well, there is a solution for this with Bitcoin, and we've talked about it. It's called the Lightning Network. And so what the Lightning Network is that a bunch of people create these nodes where they hold like a relatively large amount of Bitcoin. And the way that network is designed, your transactions happen very quickly and very cheaply. And those people who have the kind of money to hold those nodes are the ones who are going to make the most money out of it. So if you listen to Roger Ver, the Lightning Network is kind of the banker's way in, because they could have solved the scalability issue years ago. The software was there. Bitcoin is still a beta, as he likes to point out from time to time. So people are kind of going to Bitcoin Cash, those who want to have a medium that is still free. So if you're looking for a medium that has SegWit, which makes it faster, and it's still kind of the libertarian style, Bitcoin Cash is where it's at. From a pragmatic standpoint, Bitcoin Cash tends to follow Bitcoin. So it's kind of like, either way, as far as your money is concerned, for me, I might as well just own Bitcoin personally.
Go ahead, Z. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, see, this is where I'm a little bit confused about why people are so gung-ho on these coins that have nothing besides a payment method. Why not utilize a coin like Ven that is not only a payment method, but also a utility coin as well, and a platform, and all these things.
Man. That's what it is. People are tribalistic. These are everybody's forming their tribalistic camps. These are new and emerging technologies. So everybody's rooting for it like it's a sports team or something like that. They're not being pragmatic about it. They're not doing any sort of FA. They're not doing any sort of technical analysis because somebody somewhere said, I like such and such. Now they like such and such, and that's it. And they're going to root for such and such. They're going to go down holding the ship. They're going to watch their entire life savings vaporize because they like such and such coin.
Or they're going to get incredibly lucky because such and such coin blows up. But I mean, look, here's the way I look at that, right? I have a small percentage of my portfolio in these like Hail Mary hodl bags, right?
Yeah, me too.
So, I got, I think I still have some stuff that I should have sold a long time ago.
Absolutely. I think we all have that thing we paid $2,000 for that is like $250 right now.
Right. So but that's all right. Look, I'll tell you guys something. In the last market rise in December, I saw some coins that blew up so big and stayed up for a while that had no business doing it. So I'm just going to, with those kind of coins that I did hodl that are very small percentage, my Hail Marys, in the next market run up, I'm going to be selling the ones that I feel like maybe they're not going to work out, and I'll just sell them when the market runs. Right. For now, though, I think that everybody might want to see some of the coins that we looked at over the last week or so.
One real quick thing before we close this topic, if you don't mind, Z, what was the coin that made the deal with the porn site? Speaking of things being used for payment. And I hate to talk about the porn industry, but historically, when they come into something, they sort of solve a lot of technology battles, don't they? With the VHS versus Betamax, and then it was they basically solidified which high definition DVD we were going to be using. And here recently, we get this announcement that a major porn site is going to be using Verge as their payment method. It's intriguing at least.
Yeah, and you can actually go on. If you choose to go on, you can go on to their website and you can see.
We will not put the link in the description.
Yeah, no, we will not put the link in the description. But Verge is on the website. Verge is listed there in the and actually in the logo at the top. You'll see Pornhub, and then after you'll see a Verge logo.
Wow. Yeah, actually, what Z pointed out the last time we talked about Verge, because we've just made a kill. I think, are we up over like 250%?
Yeah, we're up a ridiculous amount for whoever got into Verge inside the Watch Us Trade Room. We swung it twice, and each swing was over 90%.
Yeah, because in the trade room, it's fun, it's entertainment, but sometimes people will take our entertainment and they'll do their own research, and their calls end up looking just like ours. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and so that's what happened.
Yeah. I had people inside there like screaming about it. So it was pretty cool stuff.
Dude, we a lot of money made on Verge. And one thing that Z pointed out in the last show, FA wise, is that when the economy goes down, porn does not go down. You know, I personally don't really participate. I don't stay out of Verge for moral reasons, although I could. I stay out of Verge because it's dangerous. The thing moves like TRX. It skyrockets and then it bottoms out. So by the time that, you know, I could have gotten in, it was like too late.
Damn, I just bought $10,000 worth of Verge.
Yeah, but you're gonna have good use.
I'm kidding.
You'll be done with that by tonight, dude. Don't worry.
Like a week.
Yeah, it's like a few days.
Dirty little monkeys.
Except it's you got to get a watch porn site for V. You know what I mean?
The watches, the wristwatches.
Yeah. It's gonna be videos. You go on there, you got some guy. He's got an expensive luxury timepiece on his wrist, and all you see is he's just turning the bezel.
Yeah, just turning the bezel, and before the bezel goes all the way, you've already finished the video.
Oh yeah.
So, but hey, another thing another thing that Z, I don't think anybody here has mentioned, that a massive amount of the expansion of internet bandwidth, like especially in the beginning, 20 years ago, whenever that was due to porn.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, like it or not, the industry's not going anywhere. If you're very pragmatic and if you're the type that it doesn't bother you to invest in that industry, then, well, it's kind of like healthcare. It ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
No, but it's seriously though. I mean, if you think of it in terms of, you know, like we talked about with Cliff High, yes, we're dealing with economic market factors here, but even more important, we're looking at a technology adoption cycle. And here we have a very significant technology adoption marker with this Verge deal. It's you know, it's sort of makes everybody blush a little bit to talk about, but the truth is, I think it's a huge deal.
So WTC, Z, can you tell us about WTC from an FA standpoint to introduce the listeners?
Yeah, so WTC was a coin that we called was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Whenever I did that all-nighter, I called it.
Wait,
you still don't know what day it is.
Z, just so you know, buddy. Pretty sure I called it.
Burn.
Unless we both called it.
Oh, we both called it. Okay. Well, whatever. What's it called? Yeah, whatever that day was. We called it, and it rose up because it had a huge partnership announcement with Alibaba. It's going to be partners with Alibaba's IoT area, IoT division, which stands for Internet of Things. So the rumor is that Alibaba is essentially going to utilize WTC's RFID tech for all of its units. So everything that ships in.
Alibaba's bigger than Amazon, right? Numbers wise.
Yeah, twice the size of Amazon.
Okay, just
wow.
If not more than that, it's Alibaba is so big, guys, that they created their own holiday. Just to let you guys know, Jack Ma is so powerful in China. He created his own holiday, Singles Day.
Alibaba's so big, it jumped out of airplane and got stuck.
Yeah,
Alibaba's so big, it got its own orbit.
That's an insensitive joke.
I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna go and hide. I'm so sorry.
So Alibaba is it is a big deal.
Yeah,
it is.
Alibaba's so big it broke his leg and gravy came out.
Yes, yeah. So it was yesterday that I called it in FA wise, and then Cowboy followed it up with a call.
Actually, no. Z actually called it, and then somebody asked for targets, and so I went ahead and did the math.
Yeah.
And this is what I put up here is a very short-term target. So
yeah, a lot of times, guys, you have to be careful with these targets. A lot of times, you know, whenever Cowboy and I get into a coin like WTC with massive news like that, there is no way for us to sometimes gauge with technical analysis. It's not possible because you cannot chart FOMO. And what happened is that FOMO came in a lot of times, so it's kind of difficult.
I like when we just do the trailing stop loss. Once it's in profit, you make sure you stay in profit.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to chart over 1 million people in Asia buying in.
Yeah,
it's not possible. It's not possible.
How does one chart that? Yeah.
Well, and so when that happened, once that FOMO happened, and it kind of what usually happens with FOMO, the only sort of like how would Dex put it? The one little weapon when you're gonna go slay the dragon. If I was gonna give you like a knife, would be to look at the supports and resistances, and they do somewhat coincide with these fib levels. And so, you know, if the FOMO kept going, let's just say I bought in here and I'm like, okay, you know, I'll look at the order book, and you're talking about some higher level, like you're not doing anything but trading WTC during FOMO. Like the house is burning down, but you're watching the price, you know? So you have to, this is high level stuff, but your sort of clue is these fib levels and resistances and supports, which are actually the same. You have this area that we bounced off of here. You have this area that we played around in here. So this is kind of a key level. You do have this area right here where this consolidated a little bit, bounced off here. It's a bit of a support that is not a fib level, unless I drew my fibs wrong, which, you know, anybody can mess that up. But right here, it keeps bouncing off this right now. So what I see is a reversal trend after a very long retracement. I'm looking at a 75% retracement. And so basically the short-term targets are, I want to have my targets right here because it's just below the fib level. And then what may happen is it might actually kind of like hit that right here. And then it might go back down to like stabilize along this trend, this reversal trend, which very often happens. And then if it did kind of consolidate here again along that trend, then we might end up going at some point back up to here. And then you might have another, you know, dip down. But eventually what we see with a lot of these, and if you do the math using candle bodies, we have about like an 8% run after the prior all-time high, because, you know, what one of Z's deals is that if you go 70%, if you retrace 70%, so you start here, you go all the way up and you go down at 70%, you're down to right about here. We actually went a little bit deeper. We poked through that and went another maybe 8% more. So you could take that 8% and put it on top of here. And that's roughly 13.5 to 12.1. So that's like 15,000 Satoshi. So if this really is the top, and that's a conservative top, 15,000 more is like 380. So by the time this truly tops out, we have some very basic math with all things being equal to actually top out at 380 eventually. But, you know, that could take months. And on the way up, you kind of bounce off of these resistances. And the more advanced trader can actually try to scalp with a sell here and buy here and go on up. And then the trailing stop loss helps with that. You know, that's part of our method. So that's cool. WTC. That's what I see.
You get all the benefits of the huge rise without having to hodl 15 different coins and hope, you know, watch them go up and down. Very, very cool.
Yeah, it can be tricky. The stop losses are a little dangerous because if you get a dip, you know, people stop hunt, you can get stopped out. So it's not something that, you know, we just kind of ignore.
Right,
you know, it's walk away. EOS, I know we did a lot of trading in EOS. A lot of people got in when we called it and it rode all the way up here. I mean, just a killer that we did. And so I'm doing the same type of retracement. Some people might start their Fibonacci in another place, but I start right here and it's bouncing off the 618. Although I see a lot of selling volume, a little bit of buy volume coming in right here. So it's, you know, we're seeing signs of life, but it is at a critical point. So unless we see like less selling volume, more buying volume, we may actually come down to the 786 fib, which is also a support, a notable support at about 94,000 Satoshi. So Z, do you have anything on EOS that, you know,
no,
you want to add?
I mean, EOS looks good. The only thing that's a little bit concerning about EOS, and I don't want to spread FUD, but because this came from Cliff High, you know, I just have to say it. Cliff High, I believe he indicated that EOS is actually is actually going to fail end of this year. Just to let people know. That's according to Cliff High's data. One of my buddies who is a big fan of Cliff High, I'm not sure where he heard it, and I will confirm.
Yeah, I've never heard
this. But he did indicate that EOS was actually going to fail at the end of the year. Now, of course, you know, Cliff High doesn't say, you know, his stuff is financial advice and he's, you know, only right about 50% of the time. But the guy is pretty scary accurate when it comes to cryptos, and it's not something I want to ignore. So
I'm pulling up his last report on EOS. Let me see what he has to say.
Well, yeah. So as Frank is doing that, I'm not sure.
The last report doesn't have that information in it.
Yeah, the last report doesn't have that information.
Last report says that EOS is going to come out. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of emotion around it. I think that kind of means that maybe that just happened like in the last week or two.
Yeah, must be something new.
But there's FUD, not necessarily pertaining to EOS, but pertaining to all the coins in EOS's space. So you're talking about, you know, infrastructure coins on which dApps are built. And there's going to be like a launch of some kind, and then there are going to be some issues with that launch. Like they're going to have problems, and then it's going to create FUD around the entire space. And EOS is a figure, but we don't know exactly what figure it plays. So if Cliff has new data that EOS is going to fail, you know, he's right about half the time. So, you know, that's what we can, that's better than total chance.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not seeing it and his stuff, but
it's not going to be in it. Yeah. You won't see it there. I mean, I read that report in and out. You know, we had him on the show, so I wanted to make sure my homework was done, you know. I went pretty deep, but
cool.
We can look at a TRX because we live called it last show. So what we're seeing with TRX is, I'm gonna make the screen a bit bigger. Now, I saw what I saw right about here. We have a symmetrical triangle, aka consolidation on the daily, right? And on the daily, I saw a few other indicators. I saw this big volume spike. I see higher volume spikes in buying than selling, right? The red ones are shorter than the green, and there's enough green to make that matter. So given that, and I think we have some FA behind us. I didn't do my homework on that before the show. I called it right where this green box is, this bluish box right there. And that's on the daily. So while this doesn't look like much, we went from about 510, 500. I think like 510, 515. I think I called it to get in under 515. And Z and I, that's what we did. And we're up to
it was sub 515 and it exploded up.
Yeah, up to 570. And now we're looking at the daily. So I mean, to do the math on this, coming out of a consolidation like that in the market that we're in, it's a little bit of a newer coin. We don't have a huge history to it, but our ATH is, you know, like, because we have this mess back here, but our ATH kind of is the 684 range. And I think I have this going all the way up into like the 700s for targets. Whoever was watching the last show got that. That was a free bit of entertainment from us. And so,
so the FA behind TRX is the mainnet release, and Justin's son is essentially touting a lot of transaction speeds, mainnet release, and all this huge thing. And for those of you who don't know, entertainment in China or Asia in general is probably the biggest seller. It is not pornography. It's not drugs or anything. It is actually like TV. So
yeah, we're talking, and what Z means by that is that TRX is a coin that is part of that space, part of the entertainment space. Because we didn't explain what the coin
is. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, TRX is essentially a one-stop shop for all entertainment. It will have both movies, shows, dramas, games, everything that will all be on TRX's platform. So all that stuff will be it will literally just be a giant entertainment hub. So we'll see how it does.
I mean, we're up about 10%. We were up a little bit higher. So those trailing with like a stop loss to say, a tighter stop loss up here, those who scalped are up about like 10%. So if you bet like say $1,200, I should say if you bet like $2,500 on it, then room's paid for.
Real fast, guys. One of the guys inside the live chat was talking about where EOS was mentioned with Cliff High. It was mentioned by the latest interview that Cliff High did. He was talking about EOS, and that's where he said that EOS was going to fail at the end of the year. So, we'll see.
So I've got sub up, and I drew this yesterday, by the way, you guys. I modified this U-shaped one. It actually wasn't quite perfect like this, but I wasn't thinking about what I needed to think about. I was just actually showing one of our guys in the room really quick what I think it's going to do. It wasn't even, posted or called or anything. We called sub back here, like way back. So, those of us who've been in sub and who've been scalping it are just killing it right now. So we have this fib level where we're seeing some resistance. We see a lot of, I'm going to actually widen this out. Give me a second. We see a lot of tail wicks on these candles kind of pushing down. However, it's pushing really hard, and the buy volume right here is going up, and it is bouncing along this reversal trend. So for some reason, the something happens, Bitcoin trips out, whatever it is, and we see a retracement. I think it'll retrace something like this. It might come closer. It might, be something like that, or, I don't know. But I'm expecting to drop back down here, or we punch right through this. And this is a Fibonacci level, but also you can see it's somewhat of a resistance zone. You have some play right here, some play right here, a lot of wicks on this side. So the 618 seems to be kind of key. And Sub has, I think, a mini documentary that's coming out on, I think it's CNN.com. It might not be CNN, but this is only at rumor level. This is not terribly confirmed. So, and that's supposed to happen, I think, at the end of the month, April 30th or before. So that might be part of it. Substratum, I think it's a cool project. I think that it might sort of take hold in your developing nations. And what it is it's a decentralized internet. So, there's going to have to be like an infrastructure, there are going to have to be a lot of physical work that goes into it. But for these smaller areas that simply don't have the big service providers and they want to kind of do their own thing, maybe start their own little businesses, that type of thing, then it's something that could take hold somewhere. I just don't know where a lot of the work is currently being done. I think maybe like Thailand or something. Z, do you know anything about that, where some of the actual people are interested in using it?
Yeah, so it's just going to be smaller areas in which don't really have true access to internet and so forth that are extremely regulated. That is essentially where Sub is going to thrive.
I be like Linux compared to Windows. It'll always be there. It'll always be working. If it makes it.
Yeah, I personally don't hold Sub long term because I don't really care for it very long term. I just think it's too big of a hurdle to try to tackle. But yeah, I'll ride it for gains, as I always say.
Pragmatism.
Yeah, I'm all about pragmatism, you guys. I'm all about just making the dollar. That's me.
So before we move on, like, does anybody in the room have a coin that they want to see, and then we can go ahead.
Just real fast, actually, just a quick question for V. So there's a guy inside the live chat, JRM. He's talking about day trading and how we should log our trades to cover ourselves in regards to taxes. Just wanted to hear, like, what are your thoughts?
There's not a damn single regulatory mechanism anywhere in the SEC, the IRS, anything about taxing any crypto on any trade. Period.
This is not financial advice, and this is not tax advice. This is all for entertainment purposes.
This is reality advice right here. If you want, go back to the program that Frank and I have done with X, where X, who is an expert in tax law, who knows this stuff in and out, has been dealing with it for 25 years plus, especially for some very wealthy clients of his. He breaks down the entire act that was put out there. Okay, it's Frank. You want to chime in on that a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. And like Cowboy said, these are complicated things. We always want to step lightly, but our best take on it is there was a lot of hysteria about. I even heard some very wonderful people say things like, "Oh, I don't trade cryptos because I don't want to have to pay taxes on every trade." It's just kind of a bizarre thing to say, because you would, in the most basic way, what would you be paying your taxes in? If you traded, if you bought VRX or whatever coin we're talking about and made some Satoshi profit in Bitcoin, how would one even approach paying the government tax on that, right? You'd have to sell it, get USD and bring it into your bank account before there was a realized profit. So we just find it a little odd, the sort of speculation that every single trade is a taxable event. It just seems kind of bizarre. It seems bizarre to us. We're not really sure how that would work out in the real world. Now, I think most accountants would tell you if you realize profit in terms of having USD in your bank account, that'd be a whole different situation. But even then, there's a lot of factors to consider. So the thing that annoys me about the whole thing that happened a few months ago before we did our show with X was all of the sort of hysteria that went on that discouraged people from doing any kind of crypto transaction. What it did was it solidified a lot of people in this idea that the only thing to do is buy and hodl. And that's just not always the best way in every circumstance. So now, keeping track of your trades, whatever, who knows what the government's going to do. But it seems like at this point, I think it's at the level of like an urban legend, this idea that I would have to find a way to track every little transaction on Ether Delta and somehow pay tax on that, even though dollars weren't involved anywhere. I mean, anywhere, so it's an interesting problem. We'll see the information that comes out from the government in the future. But for right now, everything I've seen has usually been, people looking to profit from saying, hey, I'm a tax expert, I'll keep you out of jail. Come to me with your Ether Delta history and I'll help you pay your taxes. That just seems goofy.
Yeah. And
goofy.
One thing, guys, a lot of people, I'm not saying that I do it, but a lot of people trade on Binance. And Binance is an exchange that is listed, has its servers in all over Asia. In Korea, South Korea, Japan, Hong Kong. That's where their servers are at. And I believe the company itself is actually owned in Hong Kong. So I don't really understand how the IRS or whatnot is going to be able to subpoena those records.
And they don't take dollars either.
Yeah, they don't take dollars either. So it's very I just don't understand how they're going to do that. So that's good luck to the IRS for trying to figure that out. Especially since they just had another budget cut.
The IRS right now is being gutted.
They just had a budget cut last year, and I'm not sure anybody saw it, but the IRS actually extended the tax day.
I like the smell of warm IRS guts in the morning.
Yeah, the IRS actually extended the tax day by 1 day because there were software issues. Internally. So
this brings up something I mentioned to you guys before we started the show. One thing, we take cryptos for our educational series on our site, but we get a lot of requests from people saying, please take cryptos for the Watch Us Trade Room. And it's a technical limitation. It just would cause us way too much trouble. That's why we don't do it. It's not because we don't love cryptos. Obviously, all of us do. But we charge USD because it's a subscription service and we have to manage membership and blah, blah, blah. Right. But here's the thing. If that's keeping you out, some people are so afraid to take a little bit of profit and turn it into dollars and then pay a bill with it. And, again, I'm not a tax expert. I'm not giving you tax advice. But for something as simple as paying for an unexpected bill, or you're going on vacation, you want a little extra cash flow, or you want to join the most awesome trade room that ever existed, I don't think you're going to ruin your life by backing a few $100 into Coinbase every month and sending it to your bank account. It's okay, maybe you pay taxes on a few K that year, if that's even the way it's going to work. We don't know because the IRS hasn't told us how to handle a situation like that. A lot of armchair quarterback types have told us how to handle that, and it's usually absolutely ridiculous what they're suggesting. So let me just say this motivationally: don't let fear and uncertainty about maybe having to pay $50 in taxes next year keep you from doing something useful with your cryptos. That's just crazy.
And I will say also this: soon enough, yours truly is working on a solution to have all these problems taken care of, number one, and I will unveil it when the time comes. Number two, the agreements that the goons over at the IRS have with Coinbase, as the particular exchanges, they are only reporting people that have 20K or more sitting in their Coinbase account, or have done 20K or more in trades, specifically in Coinbase. So if you're going to take some profit, $5,000 here and there, $10,000 here and there, you're keeping that thing on under 20. Look, you pay a whole year's worth of crypto of the Watch Us Trade Room, an entire year's worth. It's $4,000.
It's less than that.
It's less than that. Yeah. They're not going to bat an eye on 4K. They're looking for the heavyweight whales. That's what they're looking for right now. That's what their focus is on. I wouldn't worry about it. And then they're running into the same problems that the Russians have run into, that the Chinese have run into, and the Germans have run into. And guess what? It is damn near impossible. And these are countries that I just mentioned that are far and away beyond the United States in terms of blockchain and crypto adaptation. Okay, far and away. I'm not talking about what's happening in the private sector. When you look at governmental sectors within Germany, within China, within Russia, there's more blockchain development there than there is right here in the United States. The latest bankers meeting, and I can tell you this, the latest National Bankers Association meeting in regards to cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, do you know what their answer was? Their answer was, we don't need it. Because they just they have no desire of developing any sort of blockchain technology. They have no desire of doing anything. They just can't do it right now. You see, the whole point of the financial system right now is to hold the fort. They got bigger. Look, do you honestly think the bigger players here in the United States government, okay, are they their $67 trillion stock and bond market? Or are they worried about a $200 billion crypto market? You tell me what they're worried about. Are they worried about the $60+ trillion bond and stock market, which is also over leveraged on $200 trillion worth of debt, and they're keeping that machine running while plugging all their figures into the dike? Or are they worried about a $200-300 billion crypto market?
Yeah, you know what, guys? Also, I got some information recently that we might be able, if you're, say, well, I'll just read what the IRS says right off the IRS website. I'm not going to speculate on it, okay? IRS virtual currency guidance. Virtual currency is treated as property for U.S. federal tax purposes. General rules for property transactions apply. Now, this is back in 2014, right? So, but the basic rules of property, whether it's real property or, not, is that, let me see here. The character of gain or loss from the sale or exchange of virtual currency depends on whether or not the virtual currency is a capital asset in the hands of the taxpayer. Okay. So what that kind of means is a capital asset, and I might be kind of needing to look a little deeper into this, but I believe one of the things about a capital asset is if you actually are taking advantage of carried interest. So carried interest, or carry, is a share of any profits that the general partners of a private equity and hedge funds receive as compensation, regardless of whether or not they contributed to any initial funds. This method of compensation seeks to motivate general partner, fund manager to work toward improving funds performance. Essentially, if this is being handled as a corporation and you're applying some of the rules of carried interest to it, there is a chance that it's not taxable. So if you're trading every day and you can verify that you're doing this kind of as a company or something like that, there is a chance, there's an argument that could be made based on the rules that exist right now, whether it's real property or not real property, that this isn't an issue. So what I'll do is, I have some things cooking, forming a corporation. We'll trade underneath that corporation. After 12 months, within that calendar year, I believe you can retroactively add things into a corporation. And there's some great partners at remaincalm.net that can help you out with that. And I think Z wants to
might be able to advise you. Well, I was just going to say before we say that everybody should do their own research and should consult their doctor before they subject themselves to an IRS colonoscopy.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I think everybody's overthinking it. At the end of the day, they don't have anything. They have no teeth on this. What carried interest is this. It applies to hedge funds. It applies to managed funds. Nobody's managing funds here. And you're not managing a fund.
We definitely don't. We don't touch anybody's.
Nobody's handling funds. There's no cash on hand. There's no cash reserves. There's none of that stuff. Doesn't apply. There's no stat. This is what X was breaking up. There's no statute. They don't have one now. I don't see them having one for the next 15 years before this whole thing blows apart on them.
Correct. And then what happens? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like Z said, I think they're going to go after a few high profile people who will have the money to duke it out in court. And then, the court precedent is going to be in place, but then it's going to get challenged. And the process takes so long that what we're going to do this year, personally, I don't think is going to make any difference.
Well, I just don't understand.
At the end of the day, they're worried about their multi-trillion-dollar stock and bond market and keeping that joke afloat than a measly little $200 billion. I mean, dude, what is the market cap of JP Morgan? The entire market cap of JP Morgan is bigger than the crypto market cap for the entire cryptos. So you think the U.S. government is worried about cryptos right now? They got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, for real. Z, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, when DEXs and all those other things start coming out, things are going to get really, really tough for them to be following through, because what happens when everybody doesn't put in, KYC information? I mean, meaning like there's no ID or there's no, email associated with your account. There's none of that stuff.
Love it.
How are you going to track that stuff?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. How about this? Okay, you owe X amount in taxes. You got to pay it. How?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the JP Morgan's revenue last year was $99.62 billion, guys. Our entire market cap is 337 billion right now.
Yep.
Their revenue is more than a third of our entire market cap.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
of one company.
All this stuff is to scare us into reporting it, because I think that what X said is that
and
once you report it,
the entire thing is it's fear. Their greatest weapon they have is fear, that you comply like a good little slave.
Yeah, that's what we think. It's entertainment purposes only. I personally think that we have some time before any solid rules are in place. You never know; they could come through and do some big stuff.
Again, the big motivational point. Please don't let fear of this nonsense that nobody has figured out yet keep you from participating in cryptos, let alone in watch us trade.
And the great thing is, when the decentralized exchanges come out, it's going to be a moot point.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with hey, Coinbase, you got to report on people with more than 20 grand.
And you already have some decentralized exchanges that will get you into the dollar. I keep saying I'm going to try it for everybody, but the BI, I think it's BISQ, I forget how to say it, BISC.network. I really need to play with this because I've been telling people I was going to do it for a long time, but they have some amazing options on there, man. And they got some really cool things. And I haven't heard much from anybody in the crypto community. I heard about it from X, but I got to play around with it. It looks very cool. You can even attach do like your Chase Zelle Pay and stuff like that. And I think they have like a smart contract where if someone doesn't give you the crypto, or doesn't give you the cash that you're selling your Bitcoin for directly, it won't release the funds and vice versa. So
it's pretty funny, guys. There's a lot of YouTubers, big time guys that pull the I got fish technique, and it's readily available. It's kind of ridiculous. So the other day, Ian Bellina, arguably one of the biggest names in cryptos actually right now. He's known as having the channel called Diary of a Made Man, where he essentially started small. He invested into a ton of ICOs, and he's made a few $1 million. So the other day he was live, and apparently he was fished live in front of everybody. But which is kind of funny right now, because instead of panicking and like turning everything off, he finished his live video on his coin review. Because he's probably getting paid for that already behind the scenes, which is already frowned upon, and then afterwards, then he proceeded to announce to everybody that he was getting fish for $2 million the day before taxes are due. So just know that the crypto space is very new, and a lot of people are doing a lot of things.
Yeah. So
cool.
What else we got, guys?
Yeah. You got more coins. I know you want to look at the tokens that we looked at this week. And we were also going to talk a little bit about a couple of our I won't say favorites. Well, one of my favorites. We had news from both factoring platforms that are threatening to come out any day. PPP, which is PayPal, and Populous are both seem to be on the verge. PayPal is saying 2 weeks they're going to have their beta platform out, which is not a real live dollar deal. I think it's going to be sort of a play money thing that people can go in and work with. But they've also said at the same time that they're going to go into overdrive with their marketing campaign. PayPal has been very big on compliance, and so they're only on Fork Delta. They're not on any other exchanges that I know of. And they've been very similar to okay, I got your message. Very, very similar business to Populous, of course, but my understanding of PayPal is they are they're an accounting software company. And so they already have a customer base. They have a proven track record. I think they have a decent sized market cap before they got into the crypto world. So very interesting to see what they're going to do. And they're saying 2 weeks, they're going to have their beta out. And what I started to say was that companies will be able to start uploading their data to PayPi's servers so that they can have their own credit analyzed, and then they can start selling their invoices on the PayPi platform. So the beta, it's not just it's not just like a visual beta. There's some real stuff happening with that. They're actually going to start loading data on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As Nico stated before, that PayPi was owned by a lot of it is owned by Deloitte employees. Now I don't know whether it's Deloitte owns it or whether it's the employees have gone out of Deloitte and created their own firm, which is PayPi. But PayPi is going after regulations first, which I don't think is a bad thing in terms of what they're trying to do, because PayPi is located in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. In terms of actual company structure, PayPal is far superior than Populous. I can tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They are far superior. They definitely have a huge workforce. But Populous does have first movers advantage. They will be going live with actual dollar financial invoice financing May 1st, essentially.
Okay,
what they're saying.
That's now, does it look like that's really going to happen?
They're saying that this is pretty much the if all be all, essentially. But what I think they're getting around to, which is pretty clever by them, is that they essentially said they're gonna only accept a few people to do the invoice financing. And for all we know, we don't know what that amount of people is. It could be 100 people, and it could be 100 people working for them that are just going to be like, oh, this is great. I'm making a lot of money on this, but it's not really open up to the masses. So we'll see.
I'm not holding my breath. We talked about this on Wednesday. So with Nico, what he does is he tells you that he's going to serve you like on a silver platter, some, medallions of, tenderloin or whatever. I don't know.
I've been fasting for 3 days. Please use another analogy.
Yeah, and then he's gonna bring you like, he'll bring you like, donuts on a porcelain plate.
It's getting worse.
You know what I mean? It's so that's what he'll do. He exaggerates, he maximizes, he minimizes.
I was thinking the same thing.
So the last time, the beta's out. Well, it wasn't even the alpha. Like he said, the beta was out because he said the beta was going to come out. So he puts this big thing up on Twitter. Oh, the beta's out. The price shoots up a little bit, but he'd already been like busted by that point for other stuff. And look,
the beta coming out, I clicked on the link. The first thing I see is a giant spelling error in sign up.
Yeah, that's, you guys, here's the thing about it. His word is really, really taking a hit. He hasn't been able to keep a promise. His timelines are always late. Deals fall through. So it's kind of one of those things where I got into PPT, I made some money, and I set a stop loss. And I think it might have fallen through during this show. So we talked about this a couple days ago. I don't, my thing is show me. I don't want to hear about it, Nico. Just put it out.
It's the thing is though, aside from Nico, the whole concept of invoice factoring as being on the blockchain, being a passive income source for token holders, man, that's just so exciting to me. So, I would love to see PayPi or Populous, either one of them, pull it off soon. And I think that'll be if it becomes like a raging success. Again, I think it's just one of those things that's good for cryptos in general, where people are starting to see the products. They're starting to see the usefulness. And, this area where you can cut out the lawyers and all of the collections and all of, all the credit related stuff with which V and I live in that world, that would be amazing. Be able to see something like that successful.
So before the end of the show, we had some of our people in the room asking about Incash. So I brought up a chart. And I think we called in cash. We've called it numerous times. But these last three targets, I think, are pretty close to what we had called out. We have this sort of upward wedge that has just spilled out of due to some FUD. And it wicked all the way down to the 400 range from the 580 range. It's a big nice big drop. So on a TA sense, that it started to make sense that it was going to drop anyway. So it's kind of interesting that, you know, the volume's decreasing, you're in an upward wedge, which is what happens. They spill out, and all of a sudden the FUD hits right at the top. And I've heard that it's like manufactured, and people are saying it's not even real. So it's interesting the FUD should come out right at like a point where they could take the most advantage and cause an even deeper drop and buy back down.
Yeah. So the FUD, you know, the FUD was that, you know, the deal with Tommy Hilfiger was fake. People are saying it's manufactured. People are saying all these types of things. Now, the one thing about Encash, and not many people know, is that Encash actually has a very, very big backing. When I mean very big backing, I mean it probably has the backing of like EOS, like that kind of size backing. Which is, you know, is a pretty big thing to say. Encash was, you know, a multi-billion-dollar company before it even became a crypto. Like in terms of as they were developing, they had that much of a backing behind it. And the big person behind him is Tim Draper. And I don't know whether some of you people know who Tim Draper is, but you guys should definitely check him out. He's a big-time player.
Major venture capitalist.
He's not a you know, small guy. He's actually a really big. He was actually on Fox News the other day, I think, and as well as CNBC when they were talking about Bitcoin the other day. He's a very big advocate for cryptocurrencies, and he's a huge player in the financial world in terms of hedge funds and whatnot. So he's behind Encash, and he strongly, you know, suggests buying Encash, you know, I like to follow where the big money is, so I'm following his word, and I actually picked some up at the dip just now.
That's awesome.
Hey guys, I'm sorry to do this. I got to go. I realized I lost track of time. I have some people waiting on calls for me. So bye everybody.
Bye, Frank.
You can never talk soon.
Yeah, well, that means we're practically at the end of the show anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll hang in for 2 minutes. I'm already late.
All right, Frank, get out of here. I'll close out. Folks, thank you all for listening in. Cowboy Z, what do you guys got to say? 10 seconds. Go for it.
Hey, I'll just end it like I tend to. A state of gratitude. I love everybody, love what I do, and thank you all for being a part of the adventure. And the cryptoschool.io is in the description if you want to check it out. It's an amazing deal.
Yep. Just for me, guys, you know, thank you so much for supporting us. You know, if you guys have any questions or concerns about, like, you know, anything really, just come, you know, send us a message. We're always inside the crypto school, or the Watchers Trade Room. And if you guys have any questions in regards to like how well we're doing, you know, check out the live chat, guys. You know, this is not us selling. These are people that are part of the Watchers Trade Room, you know, letting people know how they're doing. We've been pretty successful over the past weeks. I think we're up, like, you know, in the last like couple weeks, we're up, you know, over 800% now. So it's been fantastic. So like I said, you know, we're not selling this. These are live results written by people in the live YouTube chat. People like you just watching this right now. So you know, take a look, and you know, just come join us.
Absolutely. And with that being said, folks, again, you know, check it out. Great room, great analysis, great TA, FA. Everybody who's been on there, everybody that have been on there has been doing very well. The reviews have been stellar. What Z and Cowboy bring to the table is bar none the best. And with that being said, folks, we are over and we're out. And I'm about to take this bad boy away because CJ ain't here.